Hello, everybody. I have up on my screen an image of Richard Russell, which is the name that they have out there now for this young man that stole the plane at SeaTac Airport recently, flew it, and then crashed it. And let's get a little bit more of an in-depth look at him and see if we can peek under the covers a bit and see what drove him to do this, what was there, because it feels like it's very perplexing to people why this man would do this so suddenly, and the way he did it was very interesting as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with Richard's reading. Okay, so immediately very heavy, and it does come down, showing that this young man has passed, of course. And let's give it a minute. It felt very heavy, so it's going to take possibly a little bit to lift it from this state, and see if we get a little more of a story with him and what happened there. Well, it is lifting okay right now. It still feels heavy for sure. Okay, so Richard worked here at the airport and loading bags. He was not planning that day to take the plane. But when he saw that he could take it, and you can see there's a bigger yes, he got really excited and decided to go for it in himself. Okay, so he did what he needed to do. Once he got in there, he pushed whatever buttons and levers and these kinds of things, and the plane took off. He was impressed with himself that it took off. And as I'm speaking, I can even feel a lightness, like an airiness, like he had a thrill about being in the air. He didn't, he was wondering if he could ever really fly one on his own, and so he was really it was quite elated being in the air and being able to do this. It struck him that way for a while, and I just feel the feeling of the air in his flight. He loved being in the sky in a way. I guess he loved the view. He loved the way everything looked when he was up there, lifted away from I guess all the drama that he was used to. So there was an elation for a while. Okay, and then as he engaged some of the pilots that were down below, he felt just a feeling of desperation, like, going back would give me so much suffering, and going forward, I could end this now. I could do this, and upon doing it, be done with whatever I'm struggling with in myself, and feel free of it. Almost like, the feeling is like one of the birds that are up here. I can fly like that. I can lift out of this. And so to him, it was, if you get two choices, come back and be in this suffering and whatever consequences, or take my chances and keep going and find and just see what happens and let this unfold. I mean, if I die, I die. And then he just kept going, and this came to that conclusion where the plane crashed, and that was the end of that for Richard. So what it feels like, at least as I'm speaking about this, that the experience that Richard had unfolded more at the time. Okay, it was unplanned. Okay, so the pendulum is still saying yes, it was not planned that way. He didn't like a lot of people that maybe do something so out there in a way. It takes a lot of planning and different things. For him, it wasn't there. And so this is saying, no, he didn't do all those things. It was a spontaneous kind of thing for him that day when he got in that plane, and there he was. And then he was kind of like, wow, holy crap, look at me, I'm out here, I'm doing this. And then it was sort of, as he went through this process, he did realize to himself that he was not right in his head. Okay, and so as we're speaking, you can see the pendulum gets skewed. Like, no, he was off. Okay, this young man was off. Again, not a surprise, right? I mean, who would do something like this if they were thinking clearly? Okay, so he was off in his head. And it really struck him hard when he was in the air that I really, it kind of all came to him like, I'm really not right in my head. And, I don't, it just, it struck him in that moment more than ever. So this experience unfolded for him, but the pendulum keeps wanting to go, in a skewed manner. So let's see a little bit more about this skewing. What is that about for Richard? Okay, with him, at what I'm hearing and feeling is religiosity. There was confusion in his brain, and things for him were just skewed and off in that direction. And there was a sense of this punishment, this heaven-hell thing, okay, that caused this skewing. He felt in his heart, in some ways, that there was darkness of being one that, I guess, had sins on his soul that he felt would come out in a way, I guess. He was worried about that he may behave in a way that was not in alignment with these scriptures or whatever he's been preached to about. And this preaching came to him in ways that, at least the way he heard it and the way it came, was in a way like, whoa, I mean, there's darkness and there's light, and what is this about? Let's see if some of the preaching that came was in balance. Okay, so no. So whatever came to him, it just felt was, so it's a small yes and a bigger no. It was more of a slanted version of things, I guess, is the way to put it. One can see how that's being fed to him in a way. Okay, and this happened for a long while, or even feels like his life. That was his life, okay? And for him, he felt like some of his thoughts or his behaviors, ways inside of himself were not in alignment, were not straight up and in alignment with these scriptures or these rules, okay? These rules or ways that he should follow, okay? He wasn't feeling like he was following the Lord or Christ's laws in him. And he felt like he was off that way. Okay, that was one thing that he really struggled with. On top of, there's so much in people's heads, and you can see it's gotten bigger. It was filled with a lot of things, as it is for many. But again, these kinds of things are not real unusual for people so much. Many go through these experiences, feel this way. Okay, why did Richard on this day take the plane, right? And, that this happened this way. So let's see if there's anything more for him, though, that what's inside there. Okay, no, so that seems to be a really predominant thing, that struggle with dark and light for him. And then as he saw this opportunity, right, he felt that he was a man, though, that did have some knowledge in there, that had some muscle, and he wanted to display it. He wanted to show, too, that, look at me, I mean, I can do this. He wanted to show it to himself and to others as much. Okay, that's a little smaller. A lot of it, well, it's there. Okay, so he just wanted to, in a way, show off, I guess, show off his skills that were there in a blaze, really. Which he did, right? Okay, so yeah, one way to prove to himself he could do this flying that he always had in his soul that he wanted to do, he could prove it there. And but really he was kind of surprised at himself. He was surprised he was there, and you see how big that is. He was like, wow. And again, elated, and you know, so blown up with that he felt like, you know, almost like, okay, whatever happens to me, it's going to be fine, because, you know, he had that elation about him. You know, and then it just went down, you know, as we know. That was how that story concluded with Richard. So now that the pendulum's down, let's see if it flows into another story about where his consciousness is now. Okay, so he again is gone, quite obviously. He's passed on, he's dead, you know, death. Okay, he's not aware at this point. There's not any awareness to what happened, where he is, or anything. He's really just deep in this feeling, is more unconscious state. There's a little bit of light strip above this darkness, like, you know, he hasn't come to an awareness to the point where he could say, hey, what happened? You know, and so that's not there yet, and he's just sort of sunk inside this unconscious state, and without a lot of awareness right now, which happens when there's different traumas or various things that happen. People can, you know, it takes them a while to come to take a look at things. Okay, and he is just, again, this is very heavy, hard to live. He just is there. There's no greenery, there's no growth at this point. So, you know, where he goes from here, it's hard to say with his journey. But let's see, is there potential for Richard to awaken in a way to what happened and to look at this a little bit more? Okay, there's always that. So that's a pretty big yes. Does it seem like this will be something that will happen for him? Okay, so again, there's like a 50-50, that he may have some insights into what took place here. And, you know, and what I'm hearing is it's a lost opportunity for Richard, because if he really wanted to have the experience of flying, there would be a different way to do it, right? Really. And also he needed to get some work on, or lessons, or learning in the right way, where his thinking was in terms of scripture, in terms of religiosity. And this may come later for him, but boy, it's a no. I mean, right now we can't say. There's just, you know, he's in that state. But again, to get things more balanced up, lined up with who he is, what he is, and I think he lost himself in all of that. And again, there's a yes, like he lost himself in that he couldn't find himself. And this was one way to find his true self. He felt like, here I am, you know, I can fly, I can do this, and what's really there, and he wanted to express it. He had a hard time expressing it otherwise. Okay, so let's see if he he didn't want to hurt anyone, obviously. He was, okay, so no, however, there may have been skewed thinking, skewed thoughts in there that bothered him. Okay, you can see yes, because his demeanor was a kind, gentle person, and he treated people well. So his actions were not anything to be concerned with in the least. And this is why people are so surprised by what happened here with him. So he held this all in. Okay, so again, so what is good to do if a lot of this is in people? To get some help, of course, treatment in a way that's good treatment, and find ways to express yourself that you can release these energies rather than go out in a big explosion and bang like Richard did, right? I mean, fortunately, no one was hurt but him and the plane, and who knows, some nature probably. I don't know how all of that is, but it leaves people very perplexed, confused. What happened with him, there was some things in there that he couldn't mesh up, put into place for himself. This happens again a lot with people, not a surprise. Okay, let's see, was he suicidal before? Okay, so there was some feelings there, like, he didn't care if his life went. Okay, it's relatively weak, but when he got up there, this thing got bigger, and he just really, it took him over. Okay, and I don't think there was drugs and alcohol really for him. It's an unfortunate situation. It's just something, isn't it? Okay, so let's see if there's anything else with this reading. No. But it's just something to note and to look at, if people are feeling some of these same ways, to try to work with it in other ways, okay? Because you may go out in a bang that day, but overall, life goes on, and these things dampen down, the fires go out again, and it's just another day. So we really you have to take care of yourself. That's the main thing, okay, in the right ways. Okay. Guess that's it for this reading. Have a great day. Bye.